Welcome back to Secret Weapons, and today we are taking a look at the Ambient Select Espada by Balaguer Guitars. This is a really cool video to be making because I get to introduce you today to this, the Ambient Select Espada by Balaguer Guitars. More specifically, I'm introducing you to my Ambient Select Espada by Balaguer. Let me explain. A little bit of backstory here. I've been a fan of Balaguer from a distance for some time now. What they represent in the post-hardcore and metalcore world is very meaningful to me because those are some of my favorite genres. They're the genres I grew up with and cut my teeth on as a musician. They're kind of the most influential bands in my life tend to come out of those genres. And Balaguer is such an interesting presence in that world for not only the caliber of artists that rep Balaguer, guys like Mitch from Silent Planet and Bo Burchell from Seos, and some of my favorite guitar players in heavy genres, but also for what Balaguer brings to the table. I think what makes me so impressed with this brand is their takes on classic shapes applied to kind of these like modern, heavier genres. They have some like really modern, aggressive stuff as well in their lineup, but they also have some amazing offset and T-style guitars, the Espada being one of my favorite guitar body shapes of all time, kind of, that I think do such a great job of imbuing modern heavy genre guitar design with nuance and with something that feels familiar and classic, and I love that. And I've just been really impressed with the visual aesthetic and the art being made on these instruments for some time now. Flash forward to early 2022, earlier this year, and the Balaguer team actually reached out to me about wanting to do a run of more vintage-inspired instruments. The idea was they wanted to do a semi-limited run of kind of a vintage-appointed offset aimed more at ambient and post-rock genres, and asked if I would be interested in collaborating on the specs for the guitar. I, of course, jumped at the opportunity and was really, really excited to kind of like spec out what I think would be a great run of guitars for the Balaguer line. I ended up bringing in a couple of collaborators on this as well, who you saw in that intro video, Matt over at Ambient Trash and Andrew over at Ambient Endeavors. And the three of us kind of worked together with that Balaguer team to spec out this instrument in 3 different colors. As you saw in that intro song, this guitar comes in 3 colors: a vintage white that Matt specced out, that sparkle blue that looks just incredible that Andrew put together. I think he wins this one, honestly. And a translucent black kind of like see-through finish, which you can't really see on camera, but I swear looks amazing in photos. Go to my Instagram for that. Then we got to work on the pickup configuration and everything else. So let me talk you through where we landed here. We have a chambered Alder body semi-hollow here with an F-hole up here at the top with a maple top. We have a roasted maple Quartersawn neck with an ebony fretboard. Roasted maple feels phenomenal. The finish on this is so silky and smooth, and I love it. We've got the Balaguer Evergreen humbuckers, which are kind of like PAF style vintage voiced humbuckers. Very round, very clear, very present, but with a ton of great low end. There's a real gravity to the pickups in this thing. And I attribute that in part to the pickups and in part to the very comfortable weight that this guitar still has for being a semi-hollow. The block in this thing is nice and chunky, and it provides a great amount of kind of resonance for those pickups. What's really great, speaking of that kind of ambient leaning that we wanted to be able to accomplish with this guitar, you have a coil tap on that tone knob right there that will split these humbuckers into single coils and give you some great sparkly, lighter guitar tones, and it sounds awesome. The neck itself is what Balaguer calls a comfortable C. I would call it a little bit thinner than a lot of the vintage Cs that I've got. I don't know radius information and everything. All that stuff will be in the description down below, but I am famously bad at knowing the numeric specs of my guitars. You've got that Quartersawn roasted maple neck, an ebony board, that comfortable C, which to me I would describe as a really happy balance between vintage and modern necks. It still has that kind of quickness that you would want out of a kind of modern rock Balaguer guitar, but there's a real kind of like old school comfort where you can really kind of get your hand around that neck. Not quite like vintage telly giantness, but really somewhere as a happy medium. It feels unlike almost any of my other guitars, but has nothing but vibe and immediate familiarity, which I really, really love. We've also got Balaguer's proprietary J-style floating trem on this thing, and we will demo out the tuning stability on this thing because as you've seen on this channel, I tend to have some pretty well-appointed Bigsby guitars and some Descendant and Mastery trem systems, and those tend to be my go-tos. Things like the Descendant tremolo system is amazing. I kind of assumed that when I got this, I would be setting a 6-month timer on when I was going to end up swapping this out. I honestly don't think I'm going to. The tuning stability on this thing is phenomenal, and the kind of subtlety of this trem system feels great and feels very, very natural. Like I said, you've got the translucent black body with a matching headstock, which I love. And okay, this is an important note for me. I don't know if it is for you. You may already know this, but I didn't. For being a fan of Balaguer for a long time, I had never looked up the price point on their guitars. I just was following them on Instagram and following artists I knew and loved who played their guitars, but I hadn't looked up what these guitars go for. And this is, for context, a South Korean-made guitar from a great factory. The feel on it's great. This is, by the way, I have not given this to my tech to work on or anything. This is an out-of-the-box setup, and I am in love with it. I think everything about this thing sounds amazing. I didn't know what price point on their guitars were, but I assumed, like almost everything in our space these days, that it had to all land above 2K, like baseline, no ifs, ands, ors, or buts about it. That just kind of seems where a lot of things have gone recently. This guitar, I think, is going on sale this week with dealers with Balaguer for $1,350 or $1,400, astonishingly affordable in the modern context for really cool boutique guitars. I don't know that I've got anything in my studio that I feel pound for pound hits a value point like this does. The Balaguer stuff is shockingly accessible for how well made it is and for how great it sounds and how good the fretwork is on this thing and how comfortable this neck is. I've had this guitar for about a month now, I think, and I play it basically every single day. I've taken it and used it live. I used it live the first week I had it because I was so immediately enamored with this guitar. These pickups are incredibly versatile, and they're Balaguer's pickups. The neck on it is immediately comfortable while being a more modern approach than almost anything else I use on a regular basis. This is a really welcomed addition and change up to my styles of guitars, despite it still being a semi-hollow offset. And it's phenomenal. It's really good, and it holds its own with any and all of the incredibly high-end stuff I have as well. So I'm obviously biased here. I helped spec this out. I for the record, I am not getting compensated financially on any. They gave me this guitar, but I'm not getting paid for how well the guitars do or anything. So whether or not you buy one is totally up to you. And I'm just here to share kind of my story on how this came to be and my experience playing it and hearing it. So let's get into some sound samples, run through my pedal board. We'll listen to some dry samples, just kind of pickups directly into my amps, and then we'll start kind of dialing up some heavy and clean ambient and rock guitar tones with this guitar and really kind of explore its versatility. But yeah, this is the Ambient Select Balaguer Espada in see-through black. I really love it. I hope you do too. And if you get one of these, please tag me in anything you post on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. I would love to see what people are doing with these guitars because I've never gotten to do something like this before. And I'm really excited to see how people connect to this guitar and what kind of music they write with it. If you go ambient, if you go post-rock, if you are like me and kind of manage to take everything and turn it into a post-hardcore thing. Yeah, I would love to hear it. So please tag me on Instagram or YouTube or wherever you are using this guitar. Yeah, let's get into some sound samples. So let's really quickly talk through our signal chain so we understand kind of what context we're playing this guitar in. I have my Bondi FX 2026 compressor, the Benson Germanium Boost, the 1981 DRV, the Bondi FX Sick As, into the Cooper FX Chase Bliss Generation Loss, the Strymon Timeline, the Strymon Big Sky, and the Ruby 63 amplifier from UA. So basically, that's kind of breaking all that down really quickly. We have compressor, a clean germanium boost, a rat, essentially, a clon, essentially, a lo-fi thing that we're probably not going to use, and then the delays, the reverbs, and an AC30 in a box from a company that makes a very good AC30 in a box. Let's start running through. We're going to start things off by just listening to these pickups in various configurations, straight into the amplifier with none of our boosts and drives or delays or reverbs, and then we'll start to really dig in. Okay, so like I said, let's go ahead and talk through the various pickup configurations on this guitar. We'll start by looking at the different configurations of the evergreen humbuckers, neck, middle, and bridge, bridge, middle, neck in humbucker mode. Then we'll pop that coil tap out, and we'll do all those in the single coil mode, and then we'll start bringing in different overdrives and delays and reverbs to kind of showcase the context and kind of how this guitar would sound in an actual working environment. Because if you're anything like me, you're probably very rarely plugging straight into an amp with no effects. So yeah, this is the Espada into the Ruby amplifier and Universal Audio's Luna DAW. This is the bridge pickup. Let's go to that middle position. That neck position. Let's jump back down to that bridge position, and let's go ahead and listen to that coil tap. So like I said, I'm a big fan of a good floating trem system. And I think that this one actually does a phenomenal job of doing everything it needs to do really well. There's a great subtlety to it. You can also get really aggressive with it. And that's one of the things that impresses me the most is let's listen to some tuning stability. That's really, really nice. And it's nice to be able to kind of like abuse that trem arm. And have your guitar kind of like hold tune really, really reliably, which I love. And a guitar like this kind of lives and dies on the quality of this system right here. So I love that. It's a great system. So let's round out this video by running through some effects. Because like I said, ultimately this kind of thing always has to live in context in my mind. And that context can be whatever you need it to be. But for me, it's this pedal board. So let's start with that single coil setup, because obviously this, I've got my AC30 style amp set up to be kind of like a great clean tone for humbuckers. You jump over to that single coil thing, and you would have wanted a little bit more on that amp. But let's bring in our compressor and that germanium boost. And what's really great there is you get that back in. You've got some great body, some great character there, even with that compressor and that boost turned on. But if we spin up like our nice ambient tone, you can get some great sparkle by jumping back to that single coil. Now let's play around with how these humbuckers react to some of our drives. So we've got that clean tone right there. Some great low end there. There's some great clarity. Something like that germanium boost. It gives a little bit of color, a little bit of compression. Or something like the DRV, kind of more of a rat thing. Or conversely, we've got that overdrive, the Sick As by Bondi, which is kind of Klon-esque. is Sick As and Compressor together. And that, once again, some grit, some bite, especially in that single coil mode. You can really kind of like spin up a really great ambient sound there. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this channel. To Balaguer, thank you guys so much for reaching out about working on this guitar run together. This was something I have not gotten to do before. It is so cool to get to work on something and to see it come into the world like this. I can't wait to see who picks these guitars up, who picks up which color, and just to hear the music that people make. So if you made it here and you have or plan on buying one of these guitars, tag me if you post any videos of it. I would love to see these guitars happening in the world. I think they're really cool. Andrew and Matt, Ambient Endeavors and Ambient Trash, you guys are phenomenal musicians. That track is only as cool as it is because you guys played circles around what I kind of sketched out for us. So you guys are incredible. Everybody watching, go follow their stuff. Their account info is down below. Subscribe to their channels, stay up with them. And until next time, thanks for watching.